So you have no war yet between Israel and Iran, which is kind of a weird way to put that because, of course, Iran clearly at war with Israel, attacking Israel, over 180 ballistic missiles that went into Israel, but you haven't seen a response from the Israelis. In the meantime, they clearly are at war with Hezbollah in the southern part of Lebanon, which is, of course, the northern part of Israel and just north of Israel, and you see a non-stop litany of missiles coming into Israel from Hezbollah, this terrorist organization supported by the Iranian regime. Tony Katz Today, good to be with you. Mike Tobin joins me right now from Fox News. He is in Haifa, just 10 plus miles away from the Lebanese border. And the shelling continues, or I said the missiles continue apace, not only from Hezbollah, but from Hamas. For people who are claiming they want a ceasefire, Hezbollah claiming they want this, Mike, they don't seem to act like it.
Well, no, they're not going to stop firing the rockets until there is a ceasefire. But I think it's pretty interesting, especially following that message from Netanyahu yesterday saying we took out Nasrallah and then they took out Hashem Safadi, the guy who was supposed to replace Nasrallah, and took out the next guy. Suddenly, you have the other people, the people who would be running Hezbollah, knowing that the heads keep getting whacked, saying, "Hey, we're kind of interested in a ceasefire." So it's a different approach. Usually, you see an army and the little people are the cannon fodder, and now that Netanyahu and the IDF are going for the top rungs on the ladder, suddenly they're interested in compromise. But they're still firing the rockets. Here in Haifa, we're taking rocket fire every day. A bunch of rockets got through yesterday, but they weren't big rockets that got through yesterday. I think the reason they were able to confound the Iron Dome system yesterday is just that they fired so many. And the stuff that hit, it really didn't cause that much damage. The night before, there was a big rocket that hit a traffic circle, and it was amazing how much it landed right in the center of that traffic circle. It was amazing just how much dirt that thing kicked up and how deep it went and how many windows it blew out from nearby apartments, and a lot of people got hit. I think really more with environmental shrapnel, things like broken windows. But the last couple of days, there have been a lot of rockets. Some people were killed in Kiryat Shmona, if you remember, to the very northern tip of Israel, very near the border where a lot of the combat is undergoing. As I understand right now, or is underway. As I understand, they were in a van, and that van took a direct hit, and those people were killed.
You mentioned Netanyahu and the Prime Minister of Israel speaking to the people of Lebanon. I don't know if you can hear this. I'm just going to play just a few seconds of what he said, speaking directly to the Lebanese people. He's speaking in English.
Israel has decided to put an end to this. We've decided to return our people safely to their homes. Israel has a right to defend itself. Israel also has a right to win, and Israel will win.
So there's Netanyahu saying that Israel has a right to defend itself. We are engaged in this war. We have a right to win. We will win. And he is stating quite clearly to the people of Lebanon, you don't have to live like this. Remember when Lebanon was the pearl of the Middle East? And he's like, I do, and it can be again. This is a propaganda message, of course, like he delivered to Iran. Do these work? Do the Lebanese people want Hezbollah out?
Well, to get the message from Netanyahu, it's hard to imagine it's going to be received by the Lebanese people. That's like the devil walking into the Moody Bible Institute and saying, hear me out. They're just not going to receive that message, even though if you listen to it, particularly from a Western perspective, how many times now, twice since I've been a reporter, Hezbollah has drawn the IDF into the south of Lebanon, and a lot of people died. And right now they're in the south of Beirut and in the south of Lebanon, and a lot of people are dying. This was Hezbollah's fight. They started firing rockets on October the 8th. Israel would have preferred to have this fight be on one front, but Hezbollah created this dynamic where 60,000 people in the north of their homes the north of Israel couldn't go back to their homes, and Netanyahu had to do something about it sooner or later. And the defense echelon had to do something about it. Now you see what they're doing, and Hezbollah has literally lost its head at this point.
Talking to Mike Tobin of Fox News, stationed in Haifa been keeping an eye on what is happening in this war with Hezbollah. There was a piece in the Jerusalem Post some days ago about how the majority of Israelis want the hostages back being held by Hamas, and they want this war done. That is a different conversation than I heard from people when I was there back in March, which is they want their people back and they'll do anything to get their people back, but they want the terrorists done. Am I reading that poll wrong? Are they interested in all of this stopping, or are they interested in just getting their people back to the extent that anybody is still alive, which is a horrible thing to think, taken by Hamas a year ago? Do they want to end the terrorists, or are they willing to stop it altogether?
Well, for part of your question there, 101 people are held hostage, and it's estimated that 39 of them are dead at this point. But they still want to get the remains home and give them a respectful burial. I would think that the first priority, if you at least casual conversations with Israelis, the first priority is getting the hostages home. And the second priority is making certain that it can't happen again. And the Netanyahu approach to making certain that it can't happen again is to break Hamas as a military machine. And the problem is you can break Hamas, but you can't break an ideology. You can kill the top echelons of Hamas. You can destroy any of their equipment that they have. But the price that is being exacted on the Palestinian people breeds more hatred. So with each drop of blood, people hate Israel. They hate Jews more. You see the protests taking place in the States, and you don't see people accepting the argument that Hamas picked this fight. And I think you can have an argument about what led up to the fight. But then once you have October 7th that happened, everything's off the table, and Israel was and I'm sorry, I'm opining here a little bit. And I'll skip back just to the end of it. I think most Israelis, first priority is get the people home. Second priority is make sure it doesn't happen again. And I think you had a lot of people on the left trying to come to some sort of a negotiated compromise to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But you're also seeing when you're negotiating with someone like Yahya Sinwar, you don't have a reasonable partner to negotiate with. Every indication right now is Sinwar has got a death wish, and he's not interested in resolving anything. He's going to see this thing through the end, and it seems that part of his plan is make things bad enough that the surrounding Arab states get involved.
Yeah, this is also why the conversation piece about two-state solution is something that is only discussed amongst American political elite and not discussed in the real world. This brings us to where the United States is. Of course, this presidential run, we have seen Donald Trump being clear in his support for Israel, and we've seen Kamala Harris be clear in trying to say that Israel's an ally, but not necessarily Netanyahu. How have the Israelis taken this U.S. election and Israel as a topic?
I don't know that anyone has a good feel for the U.S. elections. I think they roll their eyes at the U.S. elections and the political process right now. I think that they don't really view Kamala Harris as someone who would be a player on the world stage, who would be formidable, but the upper echelons of Israeli politics are not in agreement with the Harris-Biden administration right now. The Biden administration wants Israel to go easy, particularly in Iran. You talked about it a little bit. Israel did strike back with a more symbolic strike, taking out the radar installation for some of the S-300 air defenses. That didn't really hurt Iran, but they communicated to Iran, we can get anywhere in the middle of your country. That was with the first missile barrage. The second missile barrage came through, and the thinking of the Israelis is, all right, you didn't get the message. And I was talking with an Israeli official in the upper echelons yesterday, and he says there's a lot of political pressure on Israel right now to make this second strike symbolic. And he says that's just really not an option for Israel anymore. They need the strike to be meaningful, is the word he chose, meaning that it's got to hurt Iran. That they've got to hear it. They've got to feel it. Go ahead.
Is this why we haven't seen Israel engage a strike yet? You know, there was the question of whether or not this was going to be a kinetic response or a more targeted response like the pagers, et cetera. Has this pressure been the reason why Israel hasn't gone full bore in a response to Tehran?
It looks that way. The defense minister, Yoav Gallant, was supposed to fly yesterday for a meeting today with Lloyd Austin, the U.S. Secretary of Defense. Benjamin Netanyahu was not a fan of this meeting, mostly because he knows how much pressure Gallant gets from the U.S. when he goes there. The U.S. echelons are frustrated with the Israelis for a number of reasons, not the least of which they didn't communicate before they took out Hassan Nasrallah. They didn't use little bombs to take out Hassan Nasrallah. There were a lot of civilian casualties, and there were a lot of casualties in the upper echelons of Hezbollah when they dropped those bombs. So the U.S. is frustrated with Israel. They don't have a good idea of what Israel's plans are, and the U.S. is scared that Israel will hit Iran hard enough that that will ramp up the escalation out here and ramp up the tensions and drag the region down into World War III. The U.S. is very afraid of that, and I think Israel, the Israelis that I've talked to have made it very clear that they want this strike back to hurt. They want it to mean something.
Yeah, the clear gulf between this constant fear of escalation that the Biden administration has versus the clear statement from Israel that now is the time to make the strikes count. That difference is not going to change regardless who wins the election in the U.S. Mike Tobin, Fox News, stay safe, and we will keep checking in with you. More to get to. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today.